Hey, good morning out there, Big E Nation, and welcome to the Big E Outdoor Radio Show. We're here to discuss everything outdoors, from hunting, fishing, and mud bogging, and everything in between. We're brought to you by Big E Outfitters and the Big E Outdoor Museum at the Cedar Creek Mall, the all-new Cedar Creek Mall, by the way. It is under construction, being remodeled with lots of new stores coming in. You'll have to get down there and check it out this summer. By mid-September, there's going to be a lot of new activity down there. And make sure you swing by and check out the Big E Outdoor Hunting Museum and all the great displays as soon as it opens later this summer. And we are looking for some new displays down there. Anybody that has some big game trophies that they would like to display and let people enjoy, they'll be put on display and with your name on it, whether you're a taxidermist, an outfitter, or just a personal collector. And we're also brought to you by Thunderloop, Brews Brothers, Skis Meat Market of Wausau, BRB Auto Body, Adrenaline Hydrographics, Snap Fitness, These Hands Massage, Jim Kreshak Jewelers, and Auto Trim and Sign. And we're here in the studio this morning with Brandon and myself, Big E. Good morning, Brandon. How are you feeling this morning?
Oh, man, good morning. It's good to be here, and despite working all night, I'm here, I'm awake. I got my energy drink here with me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I see that you look all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed this morning. That's a nice thing, you know.
Oh, it's a nice compliment. You don't have to lie to these folks.
Well, you know, Brandon, we're going to kick off the morning, and we're going to talk about the ever-controversial topic and the wolf population in the state of Wisconsin, because we were just reading in the Wisconsin Outdoor News about the wolf numbers that continue to climb.
You know, it's interesting, too, that this would be what we talk about. Just recently, just this week, the bear hunting, or not bear hunting, rather, you're able to now run your dogs and train your dogs. Training season opened up for bears, and for bear dogs, I should say. And after the first day of hunting, one of the guys I work with came up to me and said that he walked in on a bait earlier that day and walked in on a wolf within 50 yards. And the wolf was digging out the bait because he's not as strong as the bear, and he's digging it out. And he said a lot of the mistakes that these bear hunters make is they dump on a bait thinking that it might be a bear because the wolves dug it out so much that the stump tipped over.
Ooh.
And it looks like it might have been hit, and it's not. And you want to talk about losing some dogs in a hurry. Dump them on a bait that wasn't even touched by a bear. Dump them on a bait that the wolves were at.
So a new bear hunter, or somebody that's a little less experienced and doesn't really know, have the experience, I guess, and know what they're going after, and they see something like that and they drop their dogs in on it. The dogs run up on a pack of wolves. Ooh, that'd be a bad situation.
Yeah, and that's just, one scenario. I mean, there's lots of scenarios that people unfortunately get themselves into when they're hunting with dogs. Maybe they're not even hunting with dogs. Maybe they're just out there bow hunting or putting in food plots, whatever. These wolves are... They're growing. I mean, I'm looking at the article right here in front of me, and the numbers are growing, and they're a lot more. I'll guarantee you, they're a lot more than what the DNR says that they are.
Well, we know how accurate that they've been in the past with numbers on deer, and we're not going to knock on the DNR today.
No,
we will knock on them another day. I'm not saying we're not going to knock on them.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody likes to knock on the DNR if we can.
Well, it's fun and it's good quality entertainment.
That's right.
Unfortunately, it's at the expense of our fellow.
We should actually have some people tell us all the different names that they have for the abbreviation DNR. There's got to be a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah,
have to keep it clean, but.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I look forward to seeing the feedback on the Big E Outdoor Radio page on Facebook. I want some opinions on this because I'm looking at the Outdoor News article right here, and it says that last year's minimum count for the wolves was 600 to 689.
That was the count before the hunt.
Before the hunt, yep. The hunt last year, we harvested 154 wolves. They're saying that 14 were taken from vehicle collisions, 33 from depredation control, and that's not counting all the
That's not counting
encounters in the woods.
wolves that might have been exterminated and not reported by some farmer who had one in his cattle pasture, or somebody that just did the 3 S's: shoot, shovel, and shut up.
Yeah. So with the numbers that they have on record, 223 wolves were killed last year, and the herd How do they count
a pack population and know that they had 600 and how many?
Oh, well, it said a minimum of 660 to 689.
Good Lord.
And, I'm not sure how they come up with that number. They've got collars on these things, and they kind of track the packs of wolves that are, that are out there. And
so if they say that this is my opinion. If they say they have 660, I'm going to say there's probably 1,200 to 1,500 out there.
Well, and this is last year's numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers that they have now, the new minimum count that they have, they say it grew to anywhere from 646 to 771. And that's after the harvest. So this herd is growing. And what really gets me is they actually asked Dave McFarland, the DNR's large carnivore specialist.
Oh, so they have a guy that's actually he's the guru on wolves and must be bears because there ain't any. Oh, did they admit we have mountain lions now?
I think they did now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, he's got 3 animals now he can be the specialist on.
Yeah. And here they asked him.
So his job's getting busier.
Yeah, his job is getting busier, that's for sure. Yeah. They asked what the population models would show if there was no wolf harvest this coming season.
Really?
Yes, that's right. And they said that he said it would be a 10 to 15% growth rate, which is already similar to the growth rate experienced during the past year. That's with the harvest.
Now, 10 to 15%. First of all, how many wolflets? Just kidding. How many pups does a female wolf have on average? What do they have? Half a dozen?
I'm not even sure, but you would think, we've had dogs in the past, that have been bred, and they'll have anywhere from, a half a dozen, sometimes a little bit less, to a dozen. Okay. A big litter.
So let's just say that they have a half a dozen.
They're in a wild environment, yeah. So let's just say it is only a half a dozen.
Okay, and let's say half of the wolves out there. 350 of those wolves out of 700. And I'm just using 700, not whatever number he's got.
Yes, yeah.
350 of those wolves are females.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those females has only a half a dozen on average.
Yeah.
How in the world does this guy think there's only going to be a 10% increase?
Yeah. I mean, well, and the thing
even if half of those die,
there's not a lot of predators to wolves.
There's no predators to wolves except man.
Except man, and
is he
other
out
wolves.
Of is he out of his gourd to think that we're going to believe that that's only a 10%? What in the world is this guy on? That's the problem with the DNR all along. I mean, these guys, where do they come from? They go to school, they get all this education, and they think, hey, look, I'm tired of being set on the bubbler and having my head shoved in the toilet, so I'm going to become a game warden and get even with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they go out there and they come up with all these ignorant numbers, and they don't even put simple math to it. I'm just a hunter. You're just a hunter. And we're smart enough to know that you're going to get more than a 10% increase if you don't hunt these things down.
Exactly. Yeah. They're just not, in my opinion, they're not putting out enough tags. I think they need to put out more.
We can't. Thanks to the tree huggers, these things are protected.
Yeah.
We're going to be overrun with these animals. And why? Because the DNR was stupid enough to put these things into this state anyway.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. On the other hand, it's going to also affect our deer herd.
What deer herd?
Yeah.
I mean, now you're talking. That's a whole other thing. Now, who's the medium animal specialist that came up with the bright idea to kill all them off? Because I mean, we didn't need to. We have plenty of wolves now to take care of that. Because not only are they, and what are they going to eat when there are no deer left?
Pets.
And cattle. And let's hear these tree huggers scream when they start eating their horses or drag one of their little kids out of the backyard.
That's just it.
Or Fifi the poodle. When Fifi gets drug away, then all of a sudden it'll be a different story, and they'll be screaming for the hunters to come and get them wolves out of there. Mm-hmm. But they're protected now. And 10 to 15% growth rate. They must be counting on those mama wolves eating a lot of their babies, because and I'm going to tell you something, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We could go on and on about the wolves all day.
Well, we could talk. We're probably gonna.
Yeah, we could talk about these things all day, and truthfully, they need to be controlled just as well as any other animal that's out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here, coming later on in the show. We're going to talk about controlling population of several different species of animals. They all need to be controlled, or they're going to be out of control. And in a lot of areas, there's a lot of different species that are out of control.
Yeah. Well, this is just getting to be ridiculous. And, like I said, I don't know who was the brains behind even bringing these wolves into the state. I don't think they ever put it to the vote to the hunters. And I think that before they do stuff like this, they should start polling the hunters in these areas first. So we'll pick this up as soon as we come back after these. And welcome back to Biggie Outdoor Radio. Just before the break, Brandon, we were discussing the wolf population, and we were discussing the DNR's way of coming up with numbers, and obviously it just bugs the snot out of me that they do things without they just decide to do things, and I don't know why. I mean, government period just decides to do things, and they got to be voted in, and then once they're there, they just do stuff without going and asking anybody. This wolf issue is one of them, and everything else that they just introduce, and then they try to cover it up all the time, like, oh, we didn't do that, and then all of a sudden you find out, yeah, you did, because they're here. They should have never been allowed to put wolves into the state of Wisconsin without putting that to their constituents or to the people that put them in there. They should have had to come and say, all right, this is what we're planning on doing. Let's let the people in the state of Wisconsin vote on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And let us have a year to actually think about the ramifications, and then tell us, you're not going to be able to hunt them, or you may not be able to hunt them. There's no way in God's green earth that this would have passed and that we would have wolves here. Now look at the mess we got, because they went ahead, took it upon themselves to put wolves here. And then they thought that they were going to play God with, this is what you're going to be able to do. And now look, boom, along come the tree huggers, and now we can't hunt them. Now we've got a heck of a mess on our hands, and it's all the DNR's fault.
Yeah. And the thing is, their goal for a wolf population in Wisconsin, they're saying in this article here, they want to obtain a population goal of 350 wolves.
They're already doubled that. They screwed that up.
Yeah. And I got news for you folks. It's only going to get worse. If we don't have a season on these things, it's only going to get worse. It's going to multiply so fast.
And they think they've got a handle on where these packs are. They're talking about the Clifford pack and the Three Lakes pack and all that, whatever. They think they got a handle on. They got no idea where these packs are. I don't care what they say. These wolves move, they migrate, they go rogue, and they break off because they get kicked out of the packs. They don't have any idea.
No.
They're playing like they have an idea because they have to back up their job. I don't care what they say. They have no idea where these wolves are. They might have an idea where some of them are. They don't have an idea where they are.
Yeah. Well, like with anything else, they're going to go where the food is. They're going to go where they're not, on another wolf's territory. These alpha males and all, these.
Now here's something I'm gonna bring up. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who do these wolves belong to? Whose are they? We can't hunt them, so they don't belong to us, the people. Who do they belong to? They must belong to the state of Wisconsin, right?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Here's my deal. If my dog gets out of the house and goes next door and kills the neighbor's cat, who's responsible?
The owner.
If my dog runs out on the road and gets hit by a car and causes damage to that car, who's responsible?
Still the owner, yeah.
All right. So who's responsible for the damage caused by these wolves? That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. It should be the state, and no, it's not. It's not the state that's paying for it. It's not the state's insurance that's paying for it.
And they're trying to say it's nature. It's not nature. The state put them here.
That's right.
They're your animals. They're DNR. You put them there. They're your pets. They've got your collars on them.
Yeah.
They're yours.
Yep.
So guess what? Step up. Those animals cause any damage? They kill somebody's bear dog. They kill somebody's pet. They step out in front of a car and cause damage.
Why should they cause our personal insurance rates to go up?
Right. Get your checkbook out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You better get it ready because it's going to get big.
You want to own this herd or this pack or whatever you want to call it. You want to own this group of wolves in Wisconsin. Own them all together.
Yep. And it goes deeper than the wolves.
It goes a lot deeper than the wolves.
I've been saying that all along about the deer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They want to try to boss this deer herd thing around and play this game with this CWD and all that kind of stuff. And try to eradicate, that CWD. Okay, let's talking about that. Down in the southern part of the state where CWD popped out and they started that eradication and everything. That deer herd down there is stronger than ever.
Yeah, it is.
In a CWD zone, it's a disease that is, it's a genetic or a spore or whatever you want to call it. It's in their body. In all the deer, and whether it becomes active or positive is just a matter of time. Just like us, I'm not saying that it's a cancer, but it is similar to the way cancer works in humans. Now the other thing is that it's never transferred to a human. Never. In 30, 40 years? This thing's been in Colorado for years, and Colorado's lost interest in this thing. They've had it in their elk population and mule deer population for years and years and years. They don't even track it anymore. They test a few animals. People have still gone there hunting. They still go in there and they shoot elk. They shoot deer. Wyoming, same thing. We've hunted there.
They used to call it winter kill.
Yeah.
And now they try to put science behind it and try to make themselves sound a whole lot smarter about the whole deal. And it's they're trying to take things too far, and they're trying to play God on pretty much on everything.
Pick a disease that humans can get. Test 1 million humans that are dying, and you're bound to find somebody that's got it. Mm-hmm. Or test 250,000 of them each year. Sooner or later, you're going to find it. Somebody's got it somewhere along the line.
That's right.
Yep.
And
then you what? You want to let's start quarantining them and shutting the things down because this could be rampant. We had Ebola? Okay, we dealt with it. Ebola went away. Deer are going to get things too. Don't worry about it. You can take precautions and you can say, okay, well, you know what? Hey, we found CWD in this herd. So
let's monitor it.
Let's monitor it. Or perhaps if it is a high fence situation in there, okay, well, you know what? You shouldn't move your deer from that particular spot. But you don't need to go crazy and quarantine the state or quarantine this whole area.
Or wipe out somebody's entire deer herd population that they've been working to grow their entire life.
That's their income.
Yeah.
That's the DNR meddling again. And they really don't know what the heck they're doing anyway. All they're doing is just killing off a bunch of stuff. They don't even know what they're doing. First of all, prove that it can transfer to humans. It can't. Now, I'll tell you, you want to know a good way to prove? Take a bunch of death row inmates and feed them nothing but CWD deer for about 10 years.
There you go.
And if you find one of them guys that comes down with CWD, then come back and then we got something to talk about.
Then we have something to worry about. But you know what? I honestly don't think they'd ever find that.
No.
They wouldn't. It wouldn't happen.
No. First of all, we need to get a president that has some canastas in there that would actually say that we should do that, and we got to get rid of all these liberal tree huggers that got rights for everybody, and we can't do these things, and quit being sissies and get out there and start doing these kind of things. They're in prison. They're on death row. They should be our guinea pigs.
There we go. Yeah. Use them for something.
This is what you guys are going to eat venison for the next 10 years. Then if you don't die, then we know that we don't have to worry about this CWD thing.
Yeah. I feel confident enough about that. I'd love to eat venison for the next 10 years. I'll be a guinea pig. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that.
You have an unlimited freezer full of venison?
We pretty much do anyway.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But
it hasn't. Obviously, it can't transfer. These wolves. You think these wolves don't eat deer with CWD?
Yeah. They don't have it. They're thriving.
It doesn't look like their herd is hurting any.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't think they're being selective over what they're eating, and they eat everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
They do eat. They eat the parts that they're telling us don't eat, and the wolves eat it all. How many deer does a wolf eat? They don't talk about that in there, do they?
I haven't read this entire article yet. I've only actually scraped the surface of it. I read the first few paragraphs, and we've had plenty to talk on about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, over the next 2 to 3 years, while it takes them to fight this thing and possibly get that season reopened, the good thing is for all you guys out there that want a wolf hunt, there's going to be a heck of a lot more wolf tags available when it does open up. Do you think that before, when they were shutting this thing down at 150 and 200 wolves, when they open this puppy up, it's going to be, if they open it up next year, it's probably going to be 500, and a year after that, it'll be 1,000. Of course, the way the DNR counts, it's funny because when they count the deer, they overcount them, and they're counting these wolves, and they're undercounting them.
Well, yeah.
They're going to have to get smart and admit how many wolves are out there, because they're going to be rampant. You're going to see wolves in everybody's backyards pretty soon.
500 is lowballing. I'm telling you right now, if we skip a season on these things,
they're going to need to be killing 1,000 of them.
They're out of control already as it is.
Yeah.
You skip a season on these things, and that's it. Goodbye. They're out of control. We're not going to get it back.
No.
Unless we do a shoot on site, which will never happen because
we're going to be able to shoot wolves like coyotes pretty soon.
Well, you know what? I look forward to it. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
No.
And look out west. Look how many wolves are out there, and you go to Montana and out that way, you buy a tag and you can shoot 5 wolves.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people now. They're looking at when they go on a bear hunt out in Montana or
you don't even scratch the surface.
Wherever people are looking at how can I add on. I want to. When I take out a bear, I want to be able to go after wolves, and a lot of these outfitters out there, they're going after. They say, oh, well, you can take up to 2, 3, 5 wolves, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess we'll wrap this one up, and we'll be right back. Make sure you listen to these sponsors that are backing up the out. Welcome back to Biggie Outdoor Radio. I was one of the other things that I noticed here in the outdoor news for Wisconsin is kind of interesting because it touches on it's on fishing. But it does touch on respect among outdoorsmen. It's something that, go ahead, you can turn that if you'd like to, but it touches on, it's, I guess we should probably address it because it can be among hunters and landowners and people using public lands and a lot of different things. Over in Oshkosh, they're having a battle between fishermen, and it's fishermen that are using boats versus the fishermen that are fishing off of docks. Yeah. And evidently they're having a little battles when the guys that are trying to launch their boats and and bring their boats in are running into the guys that are fishing on the docks. And the people that are fishing are not giving any leeway, I guess, or any room to the guys that are trying to get their boats in and out of the water, and they got too many lines in or whatever. And then they're having confrontations with each other. They're fighting, and evidently, according to the paper, there's been confrontations, and there's been people shoving each other, and there's been cussing and swearing in front of families with kids and things like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, you know what they're saying. You know how these fishermen in the boats, they have to pay to put their boats at the dock.
Right.
And they have these folks that are going out there and they're just fishing off the docks. Well, they don't have a boat. They're not paying anything. They're just out there fishing.
Okay, but there's another side to that. They are paying something. They bought a fishing license.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They are. You know, I say it's a pretty simple fix. I mean, sportsmen and women are all, you know, they're all out there for the same thing. You know, they're out there just to get their line wet and do some fishing and enjoy a day off, enjoy an afternoon, whatever they're doing it for. You know, yield to the fishermen that are bringing their boats in.
What happened to common courtesy? You know, I mean, come on, people.
Why would you throw a cast at a boat full of fishermen, and you know, the fishermen are getting smacked in the head with lures, and they're getting their lines tangled up in the propellers of these boats that are coming in and out.
Well, and not only that, but you know what? I can see it going both ways. Picture the boats coming in, and they're being jerks about it because people have their lines in the water, and they're just coming in, and so the city has to step in now, because these people are fighting in constant arguments, and more than likely the cops are being called down there because of this kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? Because we can't be civil enough to fix these problems ourselves, and we can't, we're like, really the best way to explain it, we're like a bunch of kids in a class that don't know how to control ourselves, and now they're going to get the law involved, and they're getting the city involved, and now they're going to start regulating it, and they're going to be posting these docks, no fishing from the docks and all that, and it's going to tick people off.
And it's a $75 fine, but by the time the court costs are added in, it's going to cost them $200 if they get caught.
Well, yeah.
Now, some kid that goes down there and has been fishing there for years and doesn't pay attention to the signs goes out there.
Yeah.
And the thing is this is where anti-hunters and anti-fishermen, the antis, they gain ground on us because we look like a bunch of childish idiots because we can't use common sense.
Yeah.
This just floors me, this kind of stupidity. They were talking to somebody that was down there fishing, and he was on another dock, one that is allowed to be fished off of.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not all the docks, but it's just some of these boat launch docks. And that guy said that the dock he was on used to have chairs on it. And there was so many controversies, even on that dock, because fishermen were fighting over who got the chair and this was my chair and all this. And he said, there's no more chairs on there. He said, look what happened to him. And he pointed over, and the chairs have been thrown over the edge. They're in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's just vandalism.
It is.
That's the same as these hunters going to these public lands and shooting the signs, and that just galls me to no end when you go out and you see bullet holes in signs.
yeah, because it makes us look out of control.
Oh, God, do we look so stupid? I mean, anytime a hunter is so dumb to shoot at a sign, when you do that, that makes us look like a bunch of total maniacs, and that is all kinds of ammunition for the anti-hunters and the anti-gun people.
It is.
When you think that you're just, it's all right, I'm just going to sight my gun in and I'm going to shoot at that sign over there. You give more leverage to those people. That is the dumbest thing you can do.
You know what? It is a federal offense. You need to sight your rifle in, go to the range. Go buy a target and set up your own range. Go, how hard is that?
Yeah. Pick a spot on a stump, take your knife, notch out a spot on a stump if you really got it and you got nothing else, because you know what? If you shoot at a sign Any other hunter in your group that sees you do it should jerk that rifle out of your hand, unload it, and beat you over the head with it for stupidity. Because you are the kind of guy that is making more laws get passed, just like these dipsticks that are fishing over here and fighting, casting lines in the way of the boats. When you see a boat coming and you're standing on a boat launch, hello, let the boat come in. And if you're in the boat and you're coming in and somebody's bobber is floating there, how hard is it for you to say, hey, excuse me, can I launch? Can I, pull my boat up there? Can you guys move your line for me, please? And then if someone says please to you and you're a fisherman, you say, hey, no problem. Did you catch anything today? You have a nice conversation. You don't say, nah, screw you. I'm fishing here. You're standing on the boat launch, moron.
And honestly, I can say if I put myself in either one of them positions, I would be irritated about something regardless.
Yeah, I'd jump out of the boat and beat the snot out of the guy.
If I was in the boat, I'd be mad. And if I was the guy with my line in the water and I had just thrown a cast and I know that the fish are biting there, I want to wait, let that thing sit there for a while because I know, if he's going to drive that boat over it, the fish probably are going to be a little bit spooked.
But the thing is, if you see the boat coming, why would you cast out there? You know you're in a boat launch and it's like, hey, look, I'm taking that risk.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is okay, they're just...
It's like hunting in the parking lot
if you're
of the public hunting grounds and saying, well, let's hope nobody pulls in.
Yeah. The thing is why do you have to fish off of the boat launch? Why can't you? I mean, there are several places that, they spend good money to put up a nice pier right off from, some of these supper clubs or some of these bars or just...
I'll tell you why to fish off there. When I was young, we used to go with my dad down in Florida. We used to fish off the pier where the boats launched because that's where everybody would do the catch and release thing. They'd empty their live wells and stuff, and there was a lot of fish hanging around there.
Well, that makes sense. I mean...
Man, I used to slay the bass off of there. And that the fish like to hang out in the shade of the piers, So, I mean, the piers are always a good place to fish from.
Just to have a little more courtesy. Why would you get the town involved and get the government involved and now...
And now there's one more thing the cops has to watch. I mean,
now they
don't have enough stuff to take care of.
They have to hold our hands on this and... I don't know. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment.
I don't think there should be a $75 fine. I think they should come down there and they should take your fishing pole out of your hand and they should whip you with it. I think that should be the punishment.
Oh, boy. Well,
I think you should get 15 lashes with your fishing pole.
The thing is you see this now, and what's next?
It's getting to be more and more ridiculous every time I read this outdoor news.
Wisconsin isn't the only place though that's having all these issues and all. I mean, we're looking at our local paper here right now.
Oh, criminy! I look at the Florida Outdoor News. They fight over stuff over there. I mean, they're fighting over the pier fishing. Speaking of pier fishing, we got a couple of minutes. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm going to wait till the next hour.
I know where you're going with it, and yeah.
Yeah, because they're fighting over... No, that's all I can think about. But, that's the thing is they fight over all this kind of stuff everywhere. Everybody's always fighting. And tainted numbers, too. I had our brother-in-law, my brother-in-law, your uncle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had an interesting Facebook war going on. With a relative, nonetheless. And I'm sure you can figure that out. One of our tree-hugging relatives.
Yeah.
I don't need to go too much farther, but anyhow, who was telling him that hunters only make up 7% of the population, which is a BS number, and that hunting is not a guaranteed right and can be taken away any time. Hunting is not protected by the Constitution, she said. It don't need to be protected by the Constitution. Hunting is a right. Hunting is a tradition. Hunting is more than a constitutional thing. And let me tell you something. You want to pass a law that we can fly rainbows all over the place. Just try to take this from us. And I'm not going to get too much deeper into that.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. You don't want to get me going on that topic right now.
Boy.
Because I'm just rough. My feathers are ruffled really deep from that one right now. But yeah, I mean, they don't even have the right numbers. They're coming up with it. We have the same numbers as the antis do. Yeah. The majority of the numbers is the undecided or the non-hunters, the people that don't really have a care either way. So,
well, it just goes to prove that we're not only, I mean, it's not just hunting that we are having all these issues in. It goes into fishing, it goes into everything outdoors. And
that's right.
We just need to behave ourselves. We need to stop being childish and take it upon ourselves to be brothers and sisters about everything, get along with it a little bit more.
Yep.
So
we'll get right back to that right after these messages. And welcome back to Biggie Outdoor Radio. Brandon, we're talking about a lot of local stuff here that goes on in our first hour. And I notice in the outdoor news for Wisconsin that a couple of Wisconsin individuals ended up with some pretty stiff fines out of state. And I guess, not to dwell on that too much, but it involved an issue in Wyoming. And what I want to point out to folks is to make sure that when you're dealing with an out-of-state outfitter, that you know what you're getting into, because these guys somehow got an illegally transferred tag. Somehow it was a landowner tag, and I'm going to assume that they probably bought these licenses and figured that they were doing something right, and it wasn't. And it started out as like $5,000 for the animal that they harvested, $2,000 restitution. By the time it all stacked up between the two of them, they're paying like $20,000, and it could have been almost $50,000.
Well, I mean, it looks like here one guy ended up harvesting one mule deer buck, and the second guy harvested two. And you have to know what you're getting into. You have to make sure that the way you acquire these tags is fully legal. If it's only legal part of the way, or you might have questions in it, do your research and make sure that make sure that you're going to be doing it all the right way. You don't want to be getting caught and I mean, now these guys probably aren't going to be able to hunt in Wyoming or a lot of these other western states, for that matter.
That got to be an expensive hunt, and they probably lost their trophies. So using a reputable outfitter, somebody that knows what they're doing, is very important. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to get at, especially when you're dealing with out-of-state things, And again, here now, I'm going to plug our own Biggie Outfitters. Everything that we use for out-of-state stuff, out of the country, everything is checked out. I'm getting ready to go to Africa, and we'll be spending an entire month there. And we do a lot of research with the outfitters that we use, and we spend lengthy amounts of time with them. We check out everything from their meals to their lodging, how they run the operation, their licensing. We make sure that whoever we're working with is very credible, and there's no guesswork involved. If you come and hunt or fish with any of the people that we work with, we're going to be able to tell you exactly what the lodging is, what to expect, and they're not all the same. I mean, we're not going to tell you that they're all 5-star lodging and great places to take your whole family. Some of them are going to be, a bear camp that's just, kind of roughing it. It might be for guys, or it might be tents up in the mountains, and moving with the animals every 3 days, on a migrating herd. But whatever it is, we're going to tell you exactly how the hunt runs and what kind of physical, condition you might have to be in for it or not, what they can accommodate for hunts. So we're not going to send you out there and have you land in a place and have a whole bunch of surprises and not be prepared when you get there.
That's right. That's right.
So, gosh, I feel bad for those guys. You know, and laws are changing in a lot of these places. You know, you could end up at a place where you might think you're hunting an animal that's legal, and it's not. Even some of these ranches, these high fence ranches, where they have exotics, are changing, and some of them are trying to do last minute hunts to clean things out. And you don't want to get caught up in something that's under the table or shady or anything like that. Like Michigan, for instance, right now. You know, they've got that hog issue going on over there, and I know that's been gray area for a long time. I wouldn't get caught going to Michigan right now and being any part of any of those hog hunts over there. In fact, they just recently, their appeals court held up the decision to make those animals illegal. You know, those hog ranches and the hog breeders over there were appealing the whole thing, saying that it's unconstitutional to take those animals away from them and make it illegal to hunt them. And the appeals court said, no, it's not. And it was a unanimous decision.
3-0.
And they said, no, it's not. And they gave the DNR the right to go in there and shut them down. And it's illegal for them to have them. It's illegal for them to hunt them. And if any of them are still selling those hunts, you do not want to be part of anything to do with hunting those hogs.
So if you're going on a hog hunt up in Michigan, that's your warning. There you go. Make sure you know what you're getting into.
I want to tell you right now, you better cancel that hunt, because you don't want to be over there and having a game warden popping in on you.
They're watching it.
Yeah. Oh, and you don't want to have that thing in the back of your truck.
There's not going to be any sneaking in and out and, you know, getting this done. And I mean, you've been warned. It's in the papers. We're talking about it. We're not the only ones talking about it. It's something you have to watch out for. I mean, it's whether it's these two guys that went out to Wyoming, and they probably thought that they were doing something perfectly legal by having these tags transferred to them, and
it cost them,
and they weren't.
Cost them $20,000 between the two of them, and it could have been $50,000, but the judge was nice to them. You know, is a hog hunt in Michigan worth $7,000 to $10,000? Because that's what it's going to end up costing you.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like I said, these guys, you know, they don't want to lose all those animals, so they're going to do whatever they can and offer you some deals, and you're going to go out there and do a hunt, and they're going to hope to gosh you get out of the state with it. But man, I'm going to tell you what, make sure you do your research, folks. And there are plenty of legal places to hunt those hogs if you want them. Plenty of legal places.
Well, you know, and the thing is I can see why they're trying to control it and why they're watching it too, because you look at places where it is legal to hunt these hogs. The reason it's legal to hunt these hogs in all these other places, a lot of the states down south,
it's because they're a nuisance.
They're out of control. They're a nuisance. They're rooting up crops, and they're digging up, you know, fields and swamplands, and they breed so fast and so often, and you know, big litters. I mean,
and that's the problem is they're saying that some of these have gotten out and gotten into the wetlands and they can say that they're not getting out all they want, but I know they are.
They root under so fast.
Yeah, we've seen that. They're legal to hunt in Iowa. They're actually a crossbreed.
Yeah,
but because a full blood is illegal in Iowa.
Yeah,
but they're a crossbreed. They look so much like a full blood you can't tell the difference. But let me tell you something. We've seen how they get out. We've seen how they dig under, and it's not a good deal. And now we just got back from hunting down south, and that is not pretty what they do. And we'll get into that in the next hour, but I'm telling you, it's bad.
It's unbelievable, yeah. And that's going to be an interesting topic when we get into that. I mean, think about this. Them hogs breed every 4 months. Yep. When they get 4 months old, they get pregnant. I mean, the boars are all there. There's so many of these things. They breed every 4 months. They have a big litter, and they just keep on going and multiplying. And
By the time they get to their third litter, the first litter that they had of the year is already breeding.
Exactly.
So they're breeding fast.
They're going hog wild.
Hog wild. So, and there are some states allow exotic species, some don't. And I will tell you that Wisconsin does not. Mm-mm. So if you're looking around for hunts in the state of Wisconsin and somebody has exotic species to hunt, it's not legal. So there's something shady going on there.
Well, you might end up going to a place that you're doing a high fence whitetail hunt or a high fence elk hunt. Any cervid animal. That stuff is perfectly legal. But
that is, yes.
If you go to add something on and do a hunt for anything exotic,
if it's not a deer species, it's not legal in the state. So if it's a buffalo or a ram or a hog,
hogs, yeah. I mean, any of this
not
stuff.
legal.
It's not legal, and you have to be careful. You have to know that, because you could go into a hunt and you're starting out, the hunt is perfectly legal because you're hunting for something that you're able to be there doing, elk and whitetail and
fallow is legal. Axis deer would be legal. I don't think there are any up here. Sika deer,
yeah,
they're legal.
Yeah, but you start getting into all that other stuff when you tag out early and you say, well, what else can I go after? And the ranch owner might say, hey, I got some buffalo here. If you want to do a buffalo hunt,
don't do it.
Don't do it. Now I'm sure that there's ways where you could maybe
they could sell you a buffalo for meat, but you can't hunt it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to want to make sure that you be aware of these things before you go out there, because if you take part in it, you also can get fined.
You are just as responsible as whoever is setting you up on that deal, and you got to be careful that everything is covered. You don't want to have any gray area in it. You want it to be pretty well explained to not just you, but you want to make sure that the landowner and the ranch owner and the manager, whoever is all involved, you want to make sure that they know what's going on.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to let them know that you're also know.
You don't want to be getting in trouble because of somebody else not doing their homework.
That's right. That's for sure. So I guess with that, we're going to wrap things up. This is the end of the first hour of Biggie Outdoor Radio, and thanks for listening so far. We'll be back after these messages from these great sponsors. Remember that these are the folks that are supporting your outdoor